All right, let's talk about something no homeowner ever wants to deal with. But, we all kind of have to understand it: water damage. We're going to talk about how to go from that oh no moment of total panic to having a calm, controlled plan. So let's just dive right in.
So, it almost always starts with this question, right? You see that little stain on the ceiling or maybe a tiny puddle next to the dishwasher, and you think to yourself, it's just a simple leak. How bad can it really be? Well, I'm here to tell you what looks small can turn into a huge, huge crisis way faster than you'd ever imagine. And that brings us right into our first big topic: water's hidden wreckage. See, the real danger with water, it's not the puddle you can see. No, it's what's happening completely out of sight, behind your drywall and underneath your floors. I mean, water is it's relentless. It does not stop. Whether it's your foundation soil shifting and putting stress on pipes, or just some old plumbing finally giving up the ghost, water is going to find a way through. And once it's in, it starts to migrate. It just creeps up the inside of your walls, completely soaks your insulation, and turns that small problem into this silent and visible crisis that's spreading through your whole house. So let's take a look at some of the usual suspects here. First up, you've got slab leaks, and that's a problem starting right in the foundation of your home. Then, of course, there's storm and flood damage, which is basically when Mother Nature just decides to overwhelm everything we've built. Supply line failures are a little more personal. That's when your washing machine or dishwasher hose decides to burst. And then there's the one we really don't want to talk about: sewage backup. It's awful, but it's a very real possibility. Okay, so if you can't see it, how in the world do you find it? Well, you got to put on your detective hat. See a sudden, unexplained spike in your water bill? That is a massive red flag. Or maybe you feel a weirdly warm spot on your floor. That could easily be a hot water line leaking under the slab. And that musty, mildewy smell with no obvious source? Oh yeah, that's often the very first sign that you've got a hidden moisture problem, just brewing away. All right, so this is where things get really intense. Once that water is loose, you are officially in a race against the clock. And let me be clear, time is absolutely not on your side. You have got to get this timeline in your head. I'm talking minutes, and water is already spreading everywhere. Within just a few hours, your drywall starts to swell and literally break down. But here it is, the key window, that 24 to 48-hour window. That is when the really bad stuff happens, the irreversible stuff, like your beautiful hardwood floors starting to cup and warp. And even worse, that's when mold starts to take hold. So why is that 48-hour window so critical? It all comes down to this one number: 60%. As soon as the humidity in a space gets above 60%, that's the green light for mold to start growing. And trust me, after a big leak, your house can hit that number in no time flat. It basically becomes the perfect petri dish for mold. This quote really just nails it. Response time determines whether you face a cleanup or a complete rebuild. And that is the absolute truth. The difference between a simple cleanup and a total gut job often comes down to what you do in those first critical hours. Okay, so if speed is everything, what does a fast, correct response actually look like? Well, that's where the professional restoration process comes in. This isn't guesswork, it's a step-by-step, methodical plan designed to bring order back from total chaos. The whole thing really breaks down into these three main phases. Think of it like a medical emergency for your house. First, you've got emergency mitigation. That's stopping the bleeding. Second is structural drying. That's treating the deep internal wound. And finally, reconstruction. That's stitching it all back up so you can't even see the scar. So phase 1, emergency mitigation, is pure damage control. The goal is super simple. Just stop the bleeding, stop things from getting any worse. So crews will come in and extract all the standing water. They'll rip out super-soaked stuff like carpet padding, which is basically a giant sponge, and they'll spray antimicrobial treatments to kill any nasty stuff before it could even start growing. Okay, now we get to phase 2, and this is where the real science kicks in: structural drying. This is so much more than just pointing a few fans at a wet wall. No way. It's a very precise, monitored process. They use these massive, powerful dehumidifiers and high-speed air movers to literally pull trapped moisture out of the very bones of your house, your wood studs, your subfloor. And this is the phase that prevents that long-term hidden rot and mold that can ruin a house. And only, and I mean only, after specialized meters confirm everything is bone dry, does phase 3, reconstruction, begin. This is the part we all want to get to, right? This is when licensed contractors come back in, hang new drywall, put in new flooring, paint the walls, and they put your home back together exactly the way it was before the whole mess started. So I keep saying the word science. Let's actually dig into what that means, because this is a huge deal. Professional drying is a science, not a guessing game, and knowing the difference can save you from making some really, really expensive mistakes. Just look at the difference here. You might try to use your shop vac, but the pros roll up with a truck-mounted extractor that pulls out water insanely faster. You might put out a couple of box fans from the garage. They bring in an arsenal of industrial air movers and set them up to create a literal vortex of dry air. But here's the biggest difference of all. With a DIY job, you're just guessing if it's dry. They don't guess. They know it's dry, using moisture meters and thermal imaging cameras to see the water you can't. So how can you be sure the people you hire actually know what they're doing? You look for this certification, IICRC. It stands for the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification. Phew, that's a mouthful. But basically, it's the global gold standard. It means the technicians have been formally trained in the actual science of drying. It's called psychrometrics, and that they're following a proven playbook. It's your guarantee that they aren't just guessing. Part of that science is also knowing what kind of water you're dealing with, because believe it or not all water damage is equal. You've got Category 1, which is basically clean water from like a supply line. Then there's Category 2, or gray water, which is kind of gross. Think of water from a washing machine overflowing. But it's Category 3 that is the real nightmare. And here's why you need to know the difference. Category 3 is what we call black water. And it isn't just dirty, it is dangerously toxic. We're talking sewage, floodwaters from a river, stuff filled with bacteria and pathogens. Handling this is non-negotiable. It requires full-on personal protective equipment and super strict safety rules. This is absolutely 100% not a job you should ever try to handle yourself. Okay, so the emergency crews are gone. The house is dry. The construction is finished. Phew, you'd think you're done, right? Not quite. Now you have to navigate the aftermath, and that almost always means dealing with your insurance company. So listen up. Here are the key things you need to know about insurance. The magic words your insurance company is looking for are sudden and accidental. A pipe bursts? That's covered. A slow drip behind the toilet that you ignored for 6 months? Yeah, they'll likely call that a maintenance issue and deny the claim. And this is a big one. Standard homeowners insurance does not cover floods. For that, you need a totally separate flood policy. And here is a huge reason to hire those certified professionals we talked about. They use the exact same software as the insurance adjusters. It's usually a program called XMET. This means they're literally speaking the same language. They'll give the insurance company a perfect, detailed report with photos, moisture readings, and line item costs that makes it almost impossible to argue with. It just speeds the whole process up and helps you get paid correctly. And that brings us right to the end and to one final big question. The work is done, the house looks brand new again. But is it truly protected? After everything you've been through, the real question is, are you ready for next time? Because understanding all this, the causes, the timeline, the right way to respond, that's the real key to protecting our home in the future.